Hello, friends. Today I'll reveal a family's hidden ritual that masks a deadly secret. This is the story of Elena and her ailing uncle Ivan in their isolated winter home. Behind the daily chores and forced smiles lies a chilling act of mercy or murder. Watch closely. Elena moves through the dim kitchen like a shadow in the gray dawn, the winter light filtering through frost-laced windows in thin, reluctant slivers. Her hands, calloused from years of this ritual, plunge into soapy water, scrubbing the breakfast dishes Ivan left half-eaten. He coughs from the parlor, a wet, ragged sound that echoes off the peeling wallpaper. But she doesn't turn. Not yet. She hums a fragment of an old lullaby, the notes brittle in the cold air, as if sound alone could stitch the fraying edges of their world. Upstairs, Sofia's door creaks open, a sliver of suspicion peering out. The girl pads down in socks that whisper against the warped floorboards, her eyes sharp, too sharp for 16. Aunt Elena? Is Uncle Ivan okay? He looks pale again. Sofia lingers at the threshold, arms crossed, her gaze tracing the lines of exhaustion etched into Elena's face. It's not accusation, not quite. But the weight of it presses anyway, a crack in the ice they all skate on. Elena dries her hands on her apron, forcing a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. He's fine, love. Just the season. I'll check on him. But inside, tension coils tighter. A spring wound in her chest, her pulse a frantic drum against her ribs. She slips past Sofia, up the creaking stairs, the house groaning like it shares her burden. Ivan sits by the window, staring at the snow-blanketed estate, his breath shallow, labored. She adjusts his blanket, notes the tremor in his fingers, the way his skin clings too loosely to bone. The pills, hidden in her drawer, not his, rattle in her mind like unspoken accusations. Descending, she pauses in the parlor before the cracked mirror, its fracture spiderwebbing from a long-ago shatter. Her reflection stares back, fragmented. One eye shadowed with resolve, the other flickering with something darker, unspoken. She freezes there, words dying on her tongue, just as they always do. The lie sits heavy now, not a shield but a stone in her gut, pulling her down. How long before it crushes them all? Sofia watches from the doorway, silent but seeing too much. And the air thickens, suffocating, as the silence stretches thin. As the day wears on, drawing Sofia deeper into the house's hidden corners, snow dusts the attic beams like forgotten lace. And Sofia climbs the creaking ladder, her breath fogging the chill air. Curiosity pulls her here. A loose floorboard she'd noticed weeks ago, whispering secrets in the estate's groaning silence. The winter light filters through cracked panes, casting elongated shadows that dance like uneasy ghosts. She kneels, fingers prying at the wood, heart quickening with the thrill of the hidden. The board lifts with a splintered groan, revealing a tin box tucked beneath, rusted edges biting into her palms. Inside, vials clink softly, labels faded but legible. Painkillers, sedatives, prescriptions for Ivion's name, stamped with dates stretching back months. Not the vitamins Elena swears by, not the herbal teas steaming on the kitchen table. Real medicine, hidden like contraband. Sofia's pulse stutters. Her aunt's face flashes in her mind, that steady smile masking the lines of exhaustion, the ideal guardian who mends everything with quiet strength. Why stash this away? Why not just say it? The questions coil in her chest, curiosity sharpening into something colder, a knot of unease twisting tighter. Ivan's coughs echo from below, ragged through the floorboards, and suddenly the attic feels smaller, the air thicker, pressing against her ribs. These pills aren't mercy. They're proof of a lie, a fracture in the aunt she's idolized. the one who promised the family was unbreakable. She snaps the box shut, vials rattling like accusations, and descends the ladder, each step heavier. In the dim hallway, Elena stands at the parlor door, candlelight flickering on her face, unaware. Sofia's throat tightens. Trust, once solid as the estate's stone walls, now cracks like the ice outside. "Aunt Elena," she says, voice trembling on the edge. "What are you hiding up there?" The words hang, unanswered, as anxiety blooms full and sharp, the medications burning in her pocket like a secret too heavy to carry alone. Later that afternoon, as the weight of Sofia's unspoken question lingers in the house, the envelope arrived like a splinter in the frost-bitten mail slot. Its wax seal cracked and faded, bearing no return address. Elena's hands trembled as she slid it open in the dim parlor, the winter lights slanting through iced panes like accusations. The paper inside was brittle, scented faintly with mildew and regret. Words scrawled in a hand she hadn't seen in years. "You thought the grave would hold it, but lies rot slower than bodies. Ivan deserves the knife's edge of truth." Her breath caught, a sharp inhale that echoed the coughs rattling from upstairs. The betrayal flooded back unbidden. That long-ago night in the estate's shadowed study, Ivan's father, her own uncle, whispering confessions of embezzlement from the family trust, funds siphoned to fuel his gambling debts in the crumbling cities beyond the snowbound hills. She'd burned the ledgers, forged the accounts, buried it all to shield the name Moros from scandal. For Ivan, for them all. But now, this ghost of a letter proved the rot had spread. Someone knew, and the silence she'd woven like a shroud was fraying at the seams. Anxiety clawed up her throat, hot and insistent, visions splintering. Ivan's worsening pallor, the hidden vial of painkillers in the attic that Sofia had nearly stumbled upon yesterday. "If I keep silent, I protect them," the old lie whispered. But it rang hollow now, a cracked echo. Her pulse thundered, the room closing in with the weight of unspoken years, the community's prying eyes beyond the estate's iron gates, waiting for the next fracture to gossip over. She staggered to the mantel, where the old family journal lay dust-shrouded, its leather spine a chronicle of curated myths. Births, harvests, omissions. Her fingers brushed its cover, the embossed crest cool against her skin, and for a split second, she imagined tearing it open, spilling the ink-black truths onto the pages. No more hiding. The need surged, a resolve hardening in her chest like ice reforging into steel. Confession wasn't destruction. It was the only breath left in this suffocating house. Down the hall, Sofia's footsteps paused at the threshold, her young eyes narrowing at Elena's ashen face. "Auntie? What's wrong?" The girl's voice carried that piercing curiosity, sensing the shift like a hound to blood. Elena forced a smile, but the air thickened, charged with the unspoken. How many more secrets could these walls contain before they buckled? In the shadow of the letter's arrival, Elena seeks counsel elsewhere, and the doctor's office smelled of antiseptic and damp wool. A small room tucked into the estate's shadowed wing where winter light slanted through frosted panes like fractured accusations. Dr. Marin Feld leaned forward in her chair, her eyes sharp as scalpels, pinning Elena to the worn leather seat. "Why are you still lying to Ivan?" she asked, voice low but unyielding. "He deserves the truth about his diagnosis. The cancer's progressed, stages we could have managed months ago if you'd let him know." Elena's hands twisted in her lap, knuckles whitening. Lying? It's not a lie. It's a shield. But the word lodged in her throat, heavy as the snow piling outside. Anxiety coiled tight in her chest, breath shallow, heart hammering against ribs that felt too fragile to contain it. She glanced at the tray on the desk. Teacups from a forgotten hospitality, steam long gone. "He's stable," she said, forcing steadiness into her voice. "The treatments are working. Telling him now, it would only confuse things." Feld's gaze didn't waver. "Confuse? Elena, you're the one confused. Withholding this isn't mercy. It's theft. Stealing his agency, his choices. And Sofia, God, that girl's piecing it together from scraps. The medications you hid, she'll find them. And then what? Your silence isn't holding. It's unraveling everything." The words sliced deep, stirring memories Elena had buried. The night of the betrayal years ago, Ivan's collapsed not from illness, but from a lover's knife twist of infidelity she'd concealed to keep the family whole. "If I speak, it all shatters." Her pulse raced, a frantic rhythm echoing the wind rattling the window. She reached for her cup, fingers trembling, too eager, too desperate for composure. It slipped, tumbling to the floor in a crystalline shatter. Shards scattered like accusations across the rug, glinting in the pale light, impossible to gather without cutting herself further. Elena stared at the broken glass, the jagged edges mirroring her fracturing resolve. How long can I sweep this up? Anxiety surged, hot and choking, but beneath it, something stirred, a resolve hardening like frost on the panes. Feld was right. The lie about the diagnosis was the final thread, and pulling it wouldn't mend the weave. It would force her to face the rot. I thought I was buying time," she whispered, voice cracking not with defense, but admission. The doctor's nod was grim, expectant, as if she'd known this moment was inevitable. Outside, the wind howled, but in the room, Elena's thoughts turned resolute. The truth wasn't a bomb anymore. It was the only way forward. Yet the question hung, unspoken and sharp. How much longer could she endure this cover-up before it buried them all? Returning from the doctor's with her resolve fraying yet sharpening, Elena retreats into reflection, and Elena sits hunched in the parlor's chill, the cracked mirror across the room splintering her reflection into jagged doubts. Snow presses against the frost-laced windows, muffling the world's indifferent hum. Her fingers, trembling slightly, trace the leather spine of the old family journal, faded, swollen with years of unspoken ink. She opens it, the pages whispering like ghosts in the dim lamplight. Memories uncoil as she turns the brittle sheets. Here, a hurried entry from last spring. Ivan's cough deepening, the doctor's grim nod she buried under smiles. She hid the pills then, tucked them in the attic's shadows, convincing herself the routine would hold. But the journal mocks her. Sketches of Sofia's wide-eyed questions, Ivan's trusting hand on her shoulder. Sacrifice after sacrifice. Nights awake forging letters of false hope. Mornings stitching lies into breakfast conversations. Anxiety coils in her chest, a vice tightening with each page. Why now? Her mind races in frantic present tense. The letter arrived today, that venomous scrawl from the past, dredging the betrayal I sealed away. Sofia's eyes narrowed at dinner, her accusation hanging like smoke. "You're hiding something, Aunt Elena?" And the medicines. If she climbs to the attic, finds them. The weight crushes her breath. Silence has been her armor, but now it chafes, rusts, pierces. Does it shield them, this family teetering on winter's edge? Or does it carve invisible wounds, deeper with every withheld breath? A faded photo slips free. The three of them by the hearth, candles flickering warmth before the cracks widened. Ivan's laugh, Sofia's trust, both fraying under her quiet reign. The journal's stories scream it. Her mother's entry from decades ago, silencing a scandal to protect the bloodline. only for resentment to fester like untreated fever. Silence doesn't bind, it erodes, leaves hollow echoes where love should pulse. Her pulse steadies, the knot in her throat loosening into resolve. No more. The thought surges, urgent and clear. Truth isn't the shatterer, it's the mend. The pressure swells, inevitable as the storm outside, pushing her toward the living room, toward words long damned. She closes the journal, but its question lingers, unanswered in the air. What burns brighter? The iron habit of hush, or the raw ache of all she's given to keep it? With the journal's weight still echoing in her mind, the confrontation builds as Sofia's discovery ignites, and the parlor air hung thick, laced with the faint scent of damp wood and melting snow from boots left by the door. Elena stood by the hearth, her hands twisting a frayed dish towel, the winter candle flickering weakly on the mantel, its flame a fragile pulse against the encroaching dusk. Sofia burst in from the hallway, her cheeks flushed, eyes sharp as shattered glass, clutching a crumpled envelope in one fist and a small vial that glinted accusingly in the other. "You lied," Sofia spat, her voice cracking like ice underfoot. Hurt twisted her features, raw and unfiltered, as she thrust the vial forward, the hidden medication unearthed from the attic's shadowed corners. "These aren't just forgotten pills, Aunt Elena. No more stories. Tell me everything. The medicines, the journal you hide, what you let fester while we played at family. If you don't, I walk. We all shatter." She stepped closer, the vial trembling in her hand, the letter a ticking ultimatum. The space between them crackled, trust's fragile thread fraying, yet in the breach, a sliver of raw openness gleamed, demanding they step through or fall apart. Elena's pulse roared. How much more quiet before the house crumbles? The mirror's crack seemed to deepen, watching. As tension simmers through the house, Ivan's own suspicions awaken in parallel, and Ivan's fingers trace the edge of the old parlor mirror, the one that's hung crooked since the last storm. He adjusts it with a grunt, expecting to see his reflection steady as ever. Broad shoulders, lined face, the unyielding patriarch. But as he tilts it, a jagged crack spiderwebs across the glass, catching the dim winter light like a fresh wound. His own eyes stare back, fractured, distorted. And there, in the corner of the frame, Elena pauses mid-step, her back to him, shoulders hunched as if the room's chill has seeped into her bones. What's this? Ivan thinks, a flicker of wariness stirring in his chest. The house has always been her domain, a fortress of routines and quiet efficiencies. But lately, the air tastes thicker, like unspoken words clotting the hearth. Elena's smiles come too quick, her touches too fleeting. Sofia's glances dart away, and the floorboards creak with secrets underfoot. He watches her now, how she busies herself with the teapot, avoiding the mirror's gaze, his gaze. "Elena," he says, voice low, testing the waters. She freezes, teaspoon clinking against porcelain. His mind races. Is it the estate? The bills piling like snowdrifts? Or something deeper, gnawing at the foundation we've built? Family is unity. Silence is strength. That's what we've always known. But this evasion, it's a crack in the wall. She turns, finally, her eyes meeting the fractured glass first, then him. "Ivan, tea's almost ready." Her words are steady, but he sees the tremor in her hands, the way doubt shadows her resilience. He's observed her for years, the caretaker who shields them all. Now, that shield feels like a barrier. No more dancing around it. He presses, stepping closer, the mirror looming between them like a divided witness. His wariness hardens into resolve. He won't let this fester. The house feels wrong. You look at me like I'm a ghost you can't name. Sofia's been whispering in corners. What are you hiding from me? From us? Elena's composure frays under his scrutiny, the weight of his observation pressing like frost on a window pane. She thinks. His eyes see too much now. The lies I've woven for protection are unraveling, thread by thread. The journal upstairs, the hidden vials, they demand I speak or lose him entirely. Doubt surges, but beneath it, a resolve builds, sharp and inevitable. Silence isn't safeguarding anymore. It's the betrayal he senses. The crack in the mirror widens in her peripheral vision, reflecting their splintered trust. Ivan waits, unblinking, his suspicion a spark that could ignite the whole charade. Can truth mend what's breaking, or will his sensed betrayal shatter them first? The question hangs, unanswered, as Elena opens her mouth, the words teetering on the edge. With suspicions converging and the household teetering, Elena calls them together at last. And the parlor air hung thick, laced with the scent of damp wood and fading pine from the winter hearth. Elena's hands trembled as she arranged the mismatched chairs. Ivan's worn armchair, Sofia's stool by the window, her own spot at the center table. The cracked mirror on the wall caught fragments of their shadows, distorting the faces she knew too well. "Sit," she said, voice steady but thin, like ice over a deepening crack. Ivan lowered himself with a grunt, his eyes narrowing under bushy brows, while Sofia perched on the edge, arms crossed, her teenage gaze sharp as the frost outside. Elena struck the match. The winter candle flickered to life in her palm, its flame a frail pulse against the encroaching dusk. Wax pooled warm against her skin, but the light danced erratically, threatening to gutter in the draft. She held it aloft, the glow carving hollows in her cheeks, illuminating the journal she'd placed on the table, its leather cover scarred from years of buried words. Fear coiled in her gut, a vice tightening. One breath, and the words could spill, shattering the fragile orbit of this family. Or she could snuff the flame, retreat into the silence that had always been her shield, her lie of protection. But the journal's pages whispered otherwise, each entry a ghost demanding release, Ivan's symptoms worsening, the hidden pills in the attic, the betrayal she'd veiled for so long. Sofia's discovery had unearthed them all, turning suspicion into this ultimatum. Her throat burned. If I speak, they'll leave me in the cold. Her mind raced, pulse hammering. The candle's warmth mocked her, a reminder that hiding only let the shadows grow. Sofia leaned forward, eyes pleading yet accusatory. Aunt Elena, enough. What are those medicines for? And the journal, it's all lies, isn't it? Ivan shifted, his dependence cracking into quiet demand. Tell us, Lena. No more games. The fear surged, a wave crashing, loss, isolation, the family splintering like the mirror's veins. But in its undertow, something shifted. The flame held, stubborn against the chill. Elena's grip steadied, breath evening. She wouldn't justify the quiet anymore. It had eroded them all, page by brittle page. Resolution bloomed, hot and unyielding. I've kept this from you, she began, voice gaining edge, the candle's light steadying as if feeding her resolve. Ivan's illness, and what I did years ago to hold us together. It starts with the truth. The flame burned brighter, casting their faces in a circle of hesitant gold. Would this light pierce the fractures, or flicker out in the gathering dark? As the words begin to flow under the candle's light, the confession unfolds fully, and the winter candle flickers on the scarred oak table, its flame a timid pulse against the parlor's chill. Shadows claw at the walls of the old estate, where frost etches the windows like unspoken accusations. Elena sits at the head, her hands clasped, white-knuckled, the family journal heavy in her lap. Its brittle pages a chronicle of omissions that now demand their due. Ivan slumps in his armchair, his once broad frame hollowed by the illness she's hidden, eyes fixed on her with a mix of bewilderment and dawning wariness. Sofia perches on the edge of the settee, arms crossed, her young face a storm of betrayal, the hidden vial of medication clutched like evidence in her fist. Fear coils in Elena's gut, a vice tightening as she meets their gazes. This room, this fragile circle, could shatter under her words. The family she'd sworn to shield, now staring back as if she's the intruder. Her throat burns, pulse hammering. What if this ends us? What if the truth is the blade that severs everything? But the candle's glow steadies her, a fragile warmth she can no longer hoard in darkness. She draws a breath, the air thick with the scent of melting wax and unspoken rot. "Ivan," she begins, voice cracking like thin ice. "The diagnosis, it's cancer. Advanced. The doctor, Dr. Feld, told me months ago. I hid the pills in the attic, told you it was just fatigue, a winter malaise, and the betrayal." Her words falter, the journal trembling in her grip. She opens it, fingers tracing faded ink, entries of lies stacked like stones in a crumbling wall. Years back, when our parents died, I covered for Uncle Victor. He embezzled from the estate funds, left us destitute. I forged the ledgers, silenced the whispers in the village, because I thought, no. She stops herself, the old justification dying on her tongue. No more cloaking silence in nobility. I did it out of cowardice, to keep this place standing, to keep you both from the pain. But every lie piled on, and now it's poisoned us all. Ivan's face drains to ash, his hand rising to his chest as if feeling the tumor's secret weight for the first time. "Elena, why?" His voice is a rasp, not rage, but a hollow plea that twists the knife deeper. Sofia surges forward, eyes blazing. "Why? You lied to his face, hid the truth while he wasted away. And that journal, it's full of your excuses, your sacrifices. Promise me, Aunt Elena, no more. Swear you'll never bury us in your secrets again." Her demand hangs sharp, a gauntlet thrown, resistance etching lines on her tear-streaked cheeks. Elena's chest heaves, terror flooding her veins, visions of Ivan turning away, Sofia fleeing into the snow-swept night, the estate echoing empty. "They'll hate me. I'll lose them." But as the candle dances, casting fractured light across the cracked mirror on the wall, its shards reflecting her distorted resolve, she feels the fear ebb, yielding to a quiet surrender. She sets the journal down, meets Ivan's eyes squarely. "I accept it now. The cost. I've stolen your choices, your grief, my own peace. Forgive me or don't. But this ends. The truth is out, and I'll bear whatever comes." Ivan leans forward, silent, listening as the weight settles. Sofia's fists unclench slightly, her glare softening to something raw, searching. The candle gutters, its flame dipping low, on the verge of snuffing out. Yet, in that wavering light, a tentative warmth lingers, unspoken questions pooling in the hush. Will they grasp this offered truth? Let it mend the fissures? Or watch it all flicker to cold ash? In the wake of the confession's raw delivery, the family's reaction ripples outward, and the parlor's air hung thick as fresh snow, the winter candle's flame guttering in the draught from the cracked window. Elena sat rigid on the edge of the velvet chair, her hands clasped so tightly the knuckles gleamed white. The journal lay open on the low table, its pages splayed like a wound, the ink of her confessions still damp in the flickering light. Sofia paced before the hearth, her teenage frame taut with fury, eyes red-rimmed from tears that hadn't yet fallen. Ivan, slumped in his armchair, stared at the floor, his broad shoulders heaving with each labored breath. The very breaths Elena had tried to shield from scrutiny. "You hid it all," Sofia spat, whirling to face her aunt. Her voice cracked, a whip in the suffocating quiet. "The pills, the letters, the betrayal with father. How long were we supposed to live like ghosts in our own home?" Shock etched her face, raw and unfiltered, mirroring the jagged lines splitting the parlor's antique mirror behind her. The crack ran from crown to base, distorting their reflections into splintered halves. Elena's gaze caught it, her own image fractured, as if the glass knew her sins before she voiced them. Ivan lifted his head slowly, his eyes, usually so trusting, now shadowed with betrayal's weight. "Elena," he murmured, voice gravelly from disuse. "You think silence mends what breaks? I've felt it eating at us, this fog you wrapped around everything." He glanced at the mirror, too, his reflection wavering, half a man staring back at half a brother. The room pulsed with their shared ache, the external storm of accusations clashing against the internal churn of Elena's guilt, a tide pulling them under. She swallowed, the taste of truth bitter on her tongue. No more lies, no cloaking it in care. "I was wrong," Elena said, her words urgent, present in the ache of her chest. "This is the price," she thought. "The isolation I feared, now clawing free. Every omission carved us hollow. I accept it, the diagnosis, the cover-up, all of it. Punish me if you must, but don't let my fear dictate us anymore." Her voice trembled, but she held their eyes, ready for the verdict, the readiness to atone burning hotter than shame. Sofia stopped pacing, fists unclenching slightly. "Promise me, no more secrets, no more deciding for us." Her tone softened, shock yielding to a hesitant thaw, like frost cracking under sun. Ivan nodded, weighing the ruins. "We start over," he said, voice steadying. "New rules, truth, no matter the sting, or we lose everything anyway." He reached out, palm upturned, an olive branch in the dim. Elena took it, the contact electric, fragile. They turned as one to the mirror, their images still split but aligning in the candle's glow. Fractured, yet holding. Could this honesty forge something solid, or would it shatter them further? The question lingered, unanswered, in the warming air.